Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this webinar, which is part of the Sustainable Sheep Systems series. This is the 5th webinar in the series, which is funded by the Farm Advisory Service. My name's Hazel Lawton from SEC Consulting, and I'll be your chair for this evening. I'm also joined in the background by my colleagues Craig Bodwell and Iona Brisbane, who are working behind the cameras just to make sure everything's running okay. So tonight we aim to run for 1 hour, just over 1 hour, and we'll be taking questions throughout the webinar, which we'll answer at the end. To put a question forward to us, in the toolbar, you should see sorry, I have not moved my slides. You should see a chat function or a Q&A, but if you can put a question onto there and make sure it's to all panelists, we'll be able to see that throughout the webinar, and we'll, as I say, we'll answer as many questions as we can at the end. So with weaning just around the corner, hopefully everybody's got silage done in this cracking weather. Weaning will be around the corner and we'll start to think about getting fat lambs away. So it's a perfect time to discuss this topic. So tonight we are joined by Awal Fuseini, who's the Halal Sector Manager for AHDB, and we'll be discussing the opportunities within this growing halal sector. His role within AHDB is to work closely with farmers, levy payers, stakeholders to create a better understanding of this often controversial topic. And that's our aim for this evening, is just to provide more information on the sector. So without further ado, I will stop sharing my screen and hand over to Awal to take us through the next part of the webinar.
Thank you very much, Hazel, and good evening to everyone. As Hazel said, my name is Awal Fuseini, and I'm the Halal Sector Manager at AHDB. So today is going to be a very open and frank discussion about understanding the opportunities in the halal sector or in the halal market. So feel free to ask any question. We will try and answer it to the best of our ability, or I'll try and answer it to the best of my ability. So just a quick introduction of myself, if it moves. Yeah, so my name, as I said, my name is Awal. My role at AHDB basically involves interacting with farmers, abattoir operators, and retailers to sort of try and create a better understanding about the halal market so that our farmers and processors can try to tap into that growing market. My background is in animal science and meat science from Bristol University, where I did my PhD. And I'm also currently a research fellow at the University of Huddersfield Business School. So that is me. I've got my email there, my contact number there, if you want to get in touch after this session. So today, what we'll be trying to look at is attempting to define halal. It is a quite complex topic. We will look at animal welfare and halal slaughter, the value of the domestic and EU markets, EU halal markets, and opportunities that exist outside the EU. So we're going to be talking about religious slaughter. And religious slaughter, what I normally, before I start my presentations, I always make it clear that, look, when discussions on religious slaughter or religious meat production is going on, what we need to realize is that we need to try and respect the human beings that are involved in the discussion. So there will be people, we will be talking about the belief systems of people. So we need to recognize that human beings are involved. So we need to respect their beliefs. We also need to recognize the fact that we are discussing about the killing of animals or the slaughter of animals. Animals cannot talk for themselves. They cannot defend themselves. So we need to objectively present facts in our debate regarding halal slaughter or religious slaughter in general, respecting the belief system of the people who are involved, and also recognizing that animal welfare is involved. So we have to present facts to be able to defend the welfare of those animals that are involved. So let's take a quick look at public opinion on religious slaughter. So when I say religious slaughter, I basically mean Shikita slaughter for Jews and halal slaughter for Muslims. So if I were to ask, if for instance, I'm just giving an example here, if you speak to 100 people, 100 people and ask them about their opinion about halal, it is very likely that the answers you're going to get will be very negative. Many of them will tell you, I don't want to have anything to do with halal, or halal is barbaric. I've heard that time and time again. And I've heard that from farmers, I've heard that from abattoir operators, and from everywhere. Understanding about this topic is very, very low, because people normally get their information about halal on social media. And when you get your information about anything from social media, whether from YouTube or from social media platform, it's very likely that your information may not be accurate. And it is for this reason that I'm here to share with you some of the facts around halal slaughter. So let's quickly look at this. In terms of, as I said, if I were to speak to people about what their opinion is about halal, it's likely to be very negative. What the views they hold about halal is likely to be very negative. But these are the facts about halal slaughter. We know that in Great Britain, over 70% of the total kill of small ruminants, so we kill around 15 million small ruminants in a year. About 70% of that 15 million is slaughtered for the halal market. This is because if you look at any of the major players, talk about the Danbiers, the Randall Parkers, the Dons, and all that, each and every one of them is doing halal. They are either doing it for the domestic market, or they may be doing it largely for export. So the halal market is a huge market. In terms of the economic importance, it cannot be underestimated. Now let's move on to the second topic, which many people underestimate. The majority of halal slaughter is actually performed with stunning. And the method of stunning used for halal is no different from the method of stunning that is used for conventional slaughter. So take small ruminants, for instance. Conventionally, or non-halal slaughter of small ruminants, the small ruminants will be stunned with what we call electrical head-only stunning. That is the same system that is used to stun halal animals. So let's move on to the third one. We know that the majority of the meat that is exported to the Muslim majority countries, so for instance, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, any of the Muslim majority countries, majority of the halal meat that is exported there is stunned before slaughter. So take New Zealand, for instance, and take Australia as well. Both of these countries have policies or regulations that bar Muslims from slaughtering without stunning. So all the halal slaughter in New Zealand, all the halal slaughter in Australia will be processed with stunning. And as you know, New Zealand, for instance, exports to 120 countries around the world. And majority of these 120 countries will be Muslims. So the majority of halal meat is stunned either in Europe, in the UK, or in other parts of the world. So now let's move on to our next slide, which is about Shikita. This is very brief. I know we are talking about halal, but it's always important to clarify which methods of slaughter represent the religious slaughter element. So in the European regulation, which is EC 1099/2009, it defines religious rites as a set of rules that are performed in line with Shikita, which is meat produced, which is the acceptable slaughter method for Jews, or halal, which is the acceptable method of slaughter for Muslims. So let's quickly have a look at what Shikita slaughter is. So the majority of Shikita slaughter is performed, or all Shikita slaughter performed in Great Britain is carried out without any form of stunning. That is where the differences between halal and Shikita slaughter comes in. So whilst the majority of halal is carried out with stunning, all shikita is performed without stunning. Shikita can only be performed by a special slaughterman called the shoshet, and the knife must be this knife on the left of the slide, which is called a shala. It's quite a long knife. That is the only acceptable knife you can use for shikita slaughter. Let's look at other bits around shikita. Jews do not consume the hindquarters of any meat. So for instance, if they slaughter cattle, they cannot consume, or they will not consume, the hindquarters. The reason for this is that the hindquarters contain contain the sciatic nerve and other fats or blood vessels that the Jewish community recognize as impure. So because they do not see these products as pure products, they will not consume them. I know you and I will say we will prefer the hindquarters because that's where the best products are located, but the Jews will not agree with this. Now halal, and that is today's topic. That is the focus of today's topic. So let's look at what the halal is going on. The meaning of halal is simply, halal is an Arabic word which simply means anything that is permissible. So that is it. It means anything that is permissible. Although we normally use it to refer to food, so halal meat, halal food, it actually extends more than that. It can be used to refer to meat, as we all know, halal meat, halal food, but it also covers monetary transactions. So Muslims must must engage in business transaction that is halal. So for instance, a Muslim cannot gamble. A Muslim cannot stake lottery. So if during the Euros, if I wanted to put a bet, I couldn't because I'm a Muslim and I'm barred from gambling. That is not to say that some Muslims do not do it. So that is the rules, but it doesn't mean some Muslims do not do it. And halal also covers the way Muslims marry. So it's not just about food and monetary transaction, but it also involves how marriage ceremonies go. So let's look at the most important things. So for those of you who are farmers and those who are abattoir operators, this is something to note. So when you are asked about the requirements of halal slaughter, there are 3 things you need to look at. So you look at the animal you are slaughtering, the person who is bleeding the animal, and the knife that you are using to slaughter. So first of all, let's look at the animal that you are slaughtering. The rules are that the animal must be a permissible species. So you cannot slaughter pigs for halal because Muslims cannot consume pork. So the animal must be a permissible species. The other thing is that the animal must be slaughtered whilst it is alive. I want you to take note of this requirement. The requirement is saying the animal must be slaughtered whilst it is alive. It's not saying the animal must be slaughtered whilst it is conscious. So that is where stunning comes in. An animal can be stunned and the animal will be knocked unconscious, but the animal will remain alive. So because the animal remains alive after stunning, some Muslims or many Muslims will accept meat from animals that have been stunned before slaughter. Let's look at the person bleeding the animal. The person should be a Muslim. However, the rules actually say a Jew or a Christian can slaughter in the absence of a Muslim. And during the slaughter, the person slaughtering must recite the tasmiyah. The tasmiyah is just a short prayer which simply says, in the name of God, God is great. And the reason for that is to give significance to the life of the animal that you are taking. We believe that God creates animals. So if you are taking the life of an animal, you give thanks to God. You acknowledge the fact that you are about to take the life of an animal. And the last bit is that when you're looking at the knife should be sharp and it should not be too short. It should be at least twice the diameter of the neck. This is also interesting for those who are interested in animal welfare. So let's look at the welfare aspects of halal slaughter. If you look at the proponents and opponents of stunning, I've got a number of lists on the slide. All the lists with green or colored green are countries where stunning is widely accepted. Now come to the place to the one in red text. That is where there is opposition to stunning. And I'm sure many of you will be shocked that you would have expected the reverse of what I've just told you. But what I'm telling you is that the majority of meat that is exported to all the countries in green would have been stunned before slaughter. However, if you come to Europe, there are some strong voices against the stunning of ruminants or animals in general. And many of you will be aware that the European regulation EC 1099/2009 gives a derogation for member states to permit slaughter without stunning. And the UK has accepted that derogation and has given Muslims and Jews the right to slaughter without stunning. But as I said, the majority of these countries there, those in green, happily accept stunning. So let's come back to the UK. In terms of the UK, as I said, there will be some opposition, or there is some opposition to stunning. We conducted a paper, we conducted research in 2016 and published this paper where we asked certifiers or halal certifiers in the UK to indicate whether they accepted stunning or not. So we found that although the majority of those we interviewed accepted stunning, there was some number of there was a number of certifiers, the HMC, the Assure IP, and EDA, who wouldn't accept any form of stunning. So there you go. That is the dynamics in terms of proponents and opponents of stunning in the UK. In 2017, too, we decided to conduct a research, some research with Islamic scholars and halal consumers. And all we wanted to understand was what their views about stunning was. So when we interviewed the Islamic scholars, and as you know, Islamic scholars make decisions as to what is accepted and what is not accepted, because they interpret the Quran to derive the dietary rules. So for instance, some of them wouldn't accept stunning, some will accept stunning. So when we interviewed them, we first asked them a question that, is stunning accepted for halal slaughter? That was just a blanket question. Is stunning accepted for halal slaughter? The majority of them said, no, stunning is not accepted. So we changed the question a little bit and we asked them, if an animal is stunned and is not dead as a result of the stun, but the animal dies as a consequence of blood loss, is the meat halal? Now, when we changed that question and asked them, the majority of them said yes, they would recognize or they would accept the meat as halal if we can demonstrate to them that the stunning system that is used does not lead to the death of the animal, but that the death is as a result of blood loss. So in fact, 95% of them said yes, if we can demonstrate to them that stunning doesn't kill, then they would accept stunning. And this is what New Zealand has been able to implement. New Zealand has got what is called demonstration of recovery, where they are able to demonstrate to the Muslim community that stunning or head-only electrical stunning does not kill the animal before blood loss. So if you can do that, you get acceptance of stunning within the Muslim community. So this is another paper we looked at animal welfare from the Islamic perspective. If you've got access to it and you've got time, I'll ask that if you can have a look at it. It's quite an intriguing paper in a sense that it's looking at welfare from the scriptures, from what Muslims are expected to do when it comes to animal welfare. It was published in Cub Reviews Journal. If you haven't got access to it, I can definitely share a copy with the organizers so that they can share with you. So I mentioned about the New Zealand system, which is called the demonstration of recovery. And the objective of it is to demonstrate to the Muslim community that stunning doesn't kill animals, or some methods of stunning do not kill animals. I know stunning, there are some stunning systems that will kill animals. So for instance, there is a stunning system called penetrative captive bull. I'm sure most of you will know them unless you are not familiar with slaughter. Penetrative captive bulls is likely to kill because it is meant, the objective of it is to prevent the recovery of the animal. So this is, the UK recently launched a system that is very similar to what the New Zealanders have in place. And it was launched on the 22nd of April by Lord Goldsmith at DEFRA. And the objective is to demonstrate that stunning does not, or some method of stunning, particularly head-on stunning, does not result in instantaneous death. We believe that it's likely to increase the number of animals that are stunned before halal slaughter, and it's got the potential to open international markets for UK products. This is the most exciting part of the talk, the economic significance of the halal market, or the importance of the halal market. We know there are economic benefits. We know there are welfare implications when it comes to slaughter. And we must also highlight the fact that the consumption of halal meat is considered a form of worship by most Muslims. So let's jump straight into it. In terms of the economic importance, I want you to focus on the picture on the right. You realize that the type of products that are in, this is a typical halal butcher shop. These products that are in halal butcher shops, you are unlikely to find these products in a mainstream supermarket. So for instance, go to Tesco and ask the butcher for cow feet. They are likely to tell you, no, we don't know what cow feet is. As for lamb tripe, the stomach of lamb, they're likely to tell you no. Or as for liver, you can find liver or head. You can find, in the picture, you can actually see the head of a small ruminant. These products are considered delicacy, or feet of small ruminants in the picture as well. These products are considered delicacies within the Muslim community, but you can hardly see a non-Muslim consuming cow feet or tripe, the stomach of animal. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's hard to find. So what this picture is telling you is that the halal market presents opportunity for carcass balance. So if you are an abattoir and you want to make sure that all parts of the products get some economic importance attached to it, the halal market is a market you can go into and make sure that everything that comes out of the animal is consumed, except the things that you cannot consume, of course. So that is telling you about the economic importance of the market. Also, is similar to mutton. If you go to Tesco and some supermarket, you may find it, but you struggle to find mutton. Lamb is the commonest product you find in most supermarkets. But in halal abattoirs, in halal shops, the mutton trade it belongs there, and that is because of the way Muslims cook their products. They tend to spend a longer time in the kitchen cooking, so mutton is more suited to the cooking style or even the culture of Muslims. So the mutton market, the halal market supports the mutton market significantly. I'll talk about it as we go along. Now, there are some interesting things you need to also be aware of. Just checking the time to make sure I'm not running behind time. So there are some interesting things about the halal consumer that is important highlighted here. So Muslims can only consume 3 main protein sources, sources of animal protein: poultry, sheep meat, and beef. Muslims do not consume pork and other products. This is interesting. Research conducted recently by AHDB found that whilst the Muslim consumer consumes lamb, at 62% of Muslim consumers consume lamb at least once a week. Compare this to the general population. Only 6% of the UK population will consume or indicated that they consume lamb at least once a week. So that is 6% against 62% of the Muslim community. As I said, I'm a Muslim. I eat meat almost every day. Just this afternoon, I ate meat before coming to, before finishing work. We eat meat almost every day. So that is just highlighting the significance of the market, the farmer or to the amateur operator or to the retailer. These are just other statistics you need to be aware of, but it's not very important. It's just talking about halal certification, the importance of it. Many consumers will ask for halal certification before they buy the product. Now, this research conducted in 2008 by Ahmed found that the majority of halal consumers trust Muslim butchers than supermarkets. And many of them did not even know that supermarkets like Tesco sold halal meat. So this is also important, particularly if you are a retailer. And we also know that the younger Muslim consumer has got higher disposable income. So they are looking for higher quality products. They are looking for convenience. When I say convenience, I mean products that can be produced, that can be processed quickly, like chicken. We know chicken is a very convenient product. Take your chicken to the kitchen. You only need to spend 10, 15 minutes and you are out. Lamb, the consumer is looking for high quality. They're looking for convenience because many of them are professionals. They don't want to spend hours in the kitchen. They just want to hit the kitchen 10 minutes, 15 minutes and they're out. So if we want to sell red meat to the Muslim consumer or even the general consumer, we need to find innovative ways of making it a more convenient product, cutting them into portions that are easier to cook so that it will appeal to the younger consumer. So this is, let's move on. We've left the UK market. Let's move on to the EU market. No, hold on, sorry. We've just looked at consumer behavior. So let's look at the EU market. In terms of the EU market, the 5 main destinations for UK products are France, Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, and Italy. Now, we know that we currently export 1/3 of sheep meat to Europe. And out of this 1/3, a significant amount of it will be halal. And the major destination, as I said, will be France. So France is a major destination for halal meat. And 1/3 of the sheep meat that the UK exports to the EU will be halal. We also know that increasing population, there's increasing Muslim population across Europe because of several reasons. So the first one is migration, high fertility, because Muslims on average give birth to 1 more child than the general European population. We also know that sheep meat is very important in festivals and also in naming ceremony of newly born babies. So let's look at the Middle East market. This year we were there to showcase British lamb in February 2011 in Dubai. There's a big festival called, or expo called Gulf Food. We were there to showcase, to show the world what quality Britain can offer to consumers. There is some data on the left I want you to focus on, because we know that the Middle East markets imports 90% of beef and lamb. They can only produce 10% of what they need. Now the 90% will have to be exported. Will have to be imported. And the reason for that is that the weather, the condition, their conditions cannot support the rearing of large-scale animals. So they import 90% of beef and lamb into the country. We also know that there is appetite for British products or British lamb. Between 2019 and 2020, there was an upward of 500 to 600% increase in the volume of products that was exported to the region. We also know that meat forms an important component of their diets because of social events and other festivals, and we know the population is growing. So there is a huge market in there for UK products, and I know Scotland is not, I don't think Scotland is active in the halal market yet, but it is a market farmers and abattoir operators and retailers need to carefully look at. The potential is great. It is a market you need to look at, you need to start looking at some point. Let's look at the challenges of exporting to the Middle East market. The first one is price. The truth is we cannot compete on price with the Australians and the New Zealanders. So what we need to do is we need to carefully sell our products as premium products. That is where we can compete with the Australians. And as we speak, most UK products are in high-end restaurants, high-end hotels in Dubai, because that is where we can compete at the minute. We cannot compete with the Australians on price in terms of commodity because they can produce products at lower cost. So we cannot compete with them on price. The other stumbling block is shelf life. We know that the Australians can guarantee up to 120 days shelf life, not frozen products, but chilled products. 120 days of shelf life. The UK can only guarantee maximum 30-40 days of shelf life. So now, assuming you are competing with a country that is given or guaranteeing 120 days shelf life, and you can only give 40 days. If you ship products from here, unless you fly those products, if you are shipping them by sea, which is chilled, not frozen by sea, it's gonna take 3 weeks to get there. So that means 21 days is already out of the 40 days. So competition there for shelf life is great. And this is something all of us can play a part in. Whether you are a farmer, whether you are an abattoir operator, we can all play a part. So farmers, for instance, you should only send clean animals to the abattoir. If you send animals with less contamination or less risk of contamination to the abattoir, you are likely to contribute to the extension of shelf life. For abattoir operators, you need to invest in sophisticated chilling equipment so that shelf life can be extended. Another thing is, another challenge which you and I cannot control is exchange rate fluctuations. That one, they are due to market forces, so you and I cannot do anything about that. Let's look at the UK market. Muslims represent 5% of the UK population. Now, if you break down that 5% of Muslims, 48% of them are less than 25 years. So the 5%, 48% of them are less than 25 years, and 88% of them are less than 50 years. So what this is telling us is that the Muslim population is a relatively younger population. And we, as I already said, they have a high disposable income, so they have a high propensity to spend on food. Let's move on. I'll give you some other statistics. Now, this is also a comparison of the UK population with the Muslim population. So the one in green is the Muslim population, and the one in red, the one in deep blue, deep green, is the UK population. So let's look at those who are over 65 years. The UK population, over 16% of the UK population is over 65 years. Compare this to the Muslim population, it's only 4%. Now let's come to the workforce. The workforce between 25 and 64 years. 48% of Muslims are within this workforce. And that's why I keep hammering on the high disposable income they have, the high propensity they have to spend on food. And meat is an important component of the culture of Muslims. So that is brilliant statistics for people who are involved in farming. Excellent. Let's move on. In terms of amount of money spent by Muslims in 2016, UK Muslims in 2016, They spent almost 19 billion pounds in 2016. And out of this, 4.6 billion was spent on food and beverages alone. So that is huge. And as I said, we need to make efforts to understand this market. The market is growing. We cannot just leave it idle. It is a market that is there to be tapped in. And as I said, I don't think Scotland has taken full advantage of it yet. Take the Muslim population again, they consume over 20% of sheep meat that is produced in England. Over 20%, a huge percent is also exported to Europe. Another proportion will be exported to the Middle East. So that is a market that is growing at a rate that you and I can no longer ignore. Now let's look at a market or a festival that is called Kuban. It's actually going on as we speak. It started yesterday. It will take place over 3 days. I was speaking to one of the abattoirs today, and he was telling me they started slaughtering yesterday at 6 a.m. and they couldn't finish till 12 p.m. It is a festival where every Muslim is supposed to pay for an animal to be killed on their behalf. We estimate that anything between 70 and 100,000 ruminants are killed within the 3 days. As I said, it started yesterday, today, and it will end tomorrow. Within that period, around 100,000 animals will be killed. And this number is even small if you consider the fact that there are 3 million Muslims in the UK. Now, out of these 3 million, every Muslim is supposed to pay for an animal to be slaughtered on their behalf. But the majority of people will send money abroad for charities to perform the qurbani on their behalf. One important requirement is that the animal must be sexually mature. So the animal, and scholars have interpreted this to mean a minimum of 6 months. So for you to take advantage of the animal, and I get abattoirs contacting me all the time to see, do you know farmers who have got animals that are 6 months that we can kill for qurbani? So this is a market that is huge. And for those of you who have got mutton, who have got older sheep, and you want to get rid of it in July, either this year or next year, there is a huge market. And one thing you should know is that the Muslim consumer prefer animals or meat with less fat. So depending on how long you keep your animals, if you are keeping older sheep, for instance, there's no point keeping for you to keep feeding the animal while the animal is putting on fat rather than anything. It may be gaining weight, but the majority of it will be fat. So you need to be able to carefully understand when to get rid of your animals so that you can maximize profit. But knowing the dates of this festival is very important, so that you can easily get rid of your animals when it comes to when the time is right for that festival. And as we speak, mutton carcasses are going for £250 for Muslims to perform this festival in the UK. And as I said, around 100,000 animals are needed for the market. So it's a huge market, but most farmers in Scotland may not be aware of it. But if you check the slaughter of animals in Scotland, I just want you to do this exercise for yourself. If you look at the animals that are slaughtered in Scotland this week, you would have seen a spike in numbers in terms of the throughputs that are going through English abattoirs. For instance, particularly if some of the animals end up in English abattoirs, you see a spike in the number of animals that are slaughtered. And it's particularly because of this festival. So let's move on. So the KLU market is another thing. As I said, this festival I just mentioned, which is the Kuban festival, is an important festival. You can sell your animals to if you want to take advantage of it. Or there is also, in terms of the cooking method, as I said, Muslims cook in, they tend to spend more time in the kitchen, particularly the older generation. The younger generation is looking for convenience, but the older generation, they still spend more time in the kitchen. And the way they cook their products, they prefer mutton. Many of them will prefer mutton to lamb. So Muslims prefer leaner, not fatty, so it shouldn't be too fat, as I said. So as a farmer, you need to be able to gauge the right time to get rid of your older sheep so that they don't get too fatty, so that you can have repeat sale every year to the Muslim community for this festival. We also know that a huge amount of our mutton goes to the Middle East, and there is some interest in our mutton. So that is something we need to be aware of. I think that is the last slide. So thank you very much. I'm going to stop sharing, and we can then answer any questions that people may have.
So yeah, no, that was excellent. Thank you very much. There's certainly some interesting facts in there that will surprise a lot of people. So a couple of questions that had came in, and something I was quite interested in when we were looking at the number of tons that are imported to the Middle East from the UK. Obviously, that rose a lot.
Yeah.
In comparison, what's the sort of comparison between what's imported from Australia and New Zealand? Do you have that figure?
That is a good question. I will need to get the updated figures on input. I haven't got the figures, the current figures in front of me. But one thing I didn't mention about the Middle Eastern market is the fact that it is a new market that we have just started accessing. You could see that although the volume was around over 600 tons, it is continuing to increase. It is a growing market.
Yeah.
So it is one we need to be aware of. But as I said, I haven't got figures for importation from New Zealand and Australia.
And you're saying that it's just one that we've recently accessed. Is that as a result of Brexit? Is that
Brexit is one of the reasons.
Mention the B word.
Yeah, Brexit is one of the reasons, because when we knew Brexit was coming, we increased our activities in the region. So that could have been one. And you see, because we also recently appointed an agent in the region to help market or promote British products. So these are all culminating in the effect that we are realizing.
Right. Okay. And there's a couple of people been saying on the chat just while you were speaking, that we think, in Scotland and the UK, that we do have a premium product. Obviously, there's a lot of focus on antibiotics, and our last webinar was on sort of strategic worming and looking at reducing antibiotics and things like that. So for going, for targeting that premium market, in the likes of Dubai, is there a focus on antibiotics? Is that something that we should be looking at as a promotion sort of aspect, that we are trying to reduce antibiotic use?
Absolutely. So that will be a good selling point. The other bit that really resonates well with the consumers there is grass-fed. If you tell them, and we know the majority of our product or of our animals are mainly grass-fed. It may not be 100% grass-fed, but the majority of them will spend their time grass-feeding. So that is a good selling point, because that is where we can differentiate ourselves to other parts of the world, products from other parts of the world.
Yeah.
So reduction of antibiotics and also grass feeding.
Yeah. Excellent. And I mean, people, there's been a shift. There's a lot more people looking to market their own produce now. There's a lot of smaller businesses, crofters and larger businesses looking at boxed lamb. Is that something, you're saying we need to invest in freezers to extend shelf life and things? Is that something at a farm business level that people can, look at? Can they look at investing in this type of equipment to target that market, at a business level?
Absolutely, absolutely. If anything that can extend the shelf life of products, and also anything that improves traceability, is something that they really, really love. So if a farmer can say, look, I farm the animals here and I process them, I pack them, and I send them to you, that is excellent. I know a farm in Bedfordshire in the UK, in England, where that farm, the farm is owned by a non-Muslim, but a Muslim saw the opportunity there and came in and said, look, you continue to farm your animals, but I want to process the animals into halal. as we speak, he is expanding at a very rapid rate, and he's now accessing Kuwait, Qatar, and the UAE. So there are so many models you can use to access the market. Those guys, they've got the money, they are rich, they've got the money to spend, but all the assurance they want is product is a premium product, and that will include grass feeding and also reduction of the use of chemicals and antimicrobials. Things like that will sell greatly to them.
Excellent. Because yeah, somebody's just put a question up as you've been answering that. They're asking if you have a buyer in Scotland. So I presume, you know, that means a sort of middleman, like you've just mentioned. You know, are there contacts that Scottish farmers could get in touch with to act as that middleman to move produce across?
Yeah, if you get in touch with QSM, I've got a contact with, I've forgotten his name. Yeah, if you get in touch with QSM, I'm not supposed to work in Scotland because farmers in Scotland do not pay us the levy. So if you get in touch with QSM, they will be able to. I'm happy to speak to them.
Yeah, no problem. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Let me just have a look. Yeah, obviously your the Kerbani festival. It's probably one that a lot of people haven't heard of. I presume, is that July? Obviously, you're saying, you know, familiarise yourselves with the dates. Is it always July?
It's not always July. That's where it becomes a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
So it reduces 10 days every year.
Right.
Last year, it was on the 30th of July. This year, it was on the 20th of July. Next year, it will be on the 10th of July. So it will keep,
it'll keep moving back.
Yeah.
So this is it. Obviously, that's something farmers should be looking at before the tups go out to plan when they're putting the tup out with you guys if they want to target that. So obviously in Scotland, that's going to mean lambing indoors, which obviously, you know, attracts a higher cost of production. So if people were looking at targeting this market, what's your advice on, you know, do you know of any, or what steps should farmers take to try and target this festival? Is it a case of speaking to abattoirs and seeing if they've got the access?
Yeah, what some English farmers do is they sign a contract with an abattoir to say, okay, this is the product we lambing in December. We can keep the animals for you, but you need to pay, say, £10. I'm just giving an example, £10 or £20 per head extra on, so they'll decide the price based on what they would have sold around Easter. So they will tell the abattoir that, oh, we know in Easter we could get £120 per lamb. If you want us to keep it for you till July, we'll put this amount of money on top.
Yeah.
And I know abattoirs in England that are willing to sign contracts with farmers that can assure them the availability of lambs for Kuban. And as I said, it's not just lamb, there is also mutton. So the mutton trade too is booming during that time. So farmers, the opportunity is great. You just need to be aware of where to go to get the information and also who to contact.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Next question that came through as well was on sort of live weight. Obviously, the sort of live weight jumps about here for what sort of buyers are looking for from time, you know, throughout the year. Is there a sort of dead weight carcass target for these markets?
Yes, we actually produce a document which I can share with you, because that one I think anybody can have access to it, where we indicated that around 40 kilos is the preferred live weight.
Okay.
In terms of dead weight, many people, well, depending on where you want to go, if you are looking for the normal halal market, going to the Middle East, they prefer smaller lamb. So they will ask you to export 15 to 18 kilos. But if you are looking for the Kurbani market, they will prefer heavier carcass.
Okay.
So it depends on which one you're talking about.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just having a little look to see if there was anything else that I've missed. If anybody else has any questions, if you want to put them on the chat group just now, or if I've missed anything. Because no, I mean, it is interesting when some of the figures that you're quoting, at 20% of the consumption, you know, it is from the Muslim community, but yet they only form 5% of the overall population. So it just demonstrates, you know, how important a market it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. We've got a question here. Does this include goat meat, or is this purely sheep meat?
Sorry,
does this include goat meat? The consumption figures?
Yes, I've actually got a buyer, a desperate buyer for goats, who contacted. He said he supplies halal meat to the major retail multiples, about 4 of the major retail multiples, and he's desperately looking for a farmer to sell goats to. So that is a special situation. If there's a farmer here who has got goats to get rid of, I can definitely put you in touch with the buyer.
That's great. That's good to know. Thank you. Because what I'll do for everybody that's on the webinar, I'll circulate Awal's contact details. I think they were on a slide earlier on, but for everyone who's attended tonight, I will circulate his email address, and if anybody wishes to contact him, that'll be okay.
Yeah.
Let me just have a look. I think that's us, unless anybody's got any other burning questions.
Okay.
I think we have answered them all. Just to do, oh no, sorry, there's maybe another one here. Yeah, no, that's fine. Just to do a quick sort of poll, just for interest, obviously the biggest thing with halal is obviously the welfare aspect. Yeah. So everyone that's on, you'll see down beside your Q&A and chat sections, there's an option to raise your hand. Can I just ask everyone that had concerns over the slaughter process and the animal welfare, if you could raise your hand if you had concerns over that, and that was one of your reasons for attending the webinar, just out of a matter of interest, if you can.
Yeah, I think that's a useful question to, if people can let us know what they actually, maybe what they thought around welfare, because the assumption is always that halal is slaughtered without stunning, but that is not that is not the case.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest misconception.
Yeah.
Nobody's raised their hands, so everybody that's on tonight must have been happy with the concept and is looking for the marketing opportunities, which is good.
Yeah.
There was 7 raised their hands there, Hazel.
Oh, was there? Sorry, apologies. That didn't come up on my screen. So sorry. So anybody that did raise their hand, if you can put them down, and then we'll do another quick test and just see if, are you happy, or your concerns sort of been reduced a little bit after hearing tonight's webinar. If you could. Oh, it's now coming up on my screen. Yep, so the numbers are going up. So 7, 8. Yep, no, that's good. So we've met our aims. A lot of people are a lot happier now after hearing your presentation. So that's good. That was our target for this evening. Perfect. Well, we're just exactly where we need to be time-wise, so we'll just stop the questions there. But if anybody has any questions, that they want to ask later on, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. Apologies, I'm being blinded here. So everybody will be contacted after this evening's webinar to complete a feedback form, and I'd be very grateful if you could do that. It will only take 2 minutes to do. All the ones that are filled out will automatically be entered into a prize draw to win £50 worth of vouchers for either Damn Delicious or Battlefield Bakery. The feedback forms are very important for the Farm Advisory Service webinar delivery. Can't actually see anything now, sorry. So the next webinar of this series, it will be the last one, and we're going to be looking at transitioning to outdoor lambing, which is maybe a bit controversial now after we're maybe all looking at lambing a bit earlier to target the festival, but that'll be our final webinar of this series. The date is still to be confirmed, but it will be circulated around everybody once we've got it organised. So all that's left for me to do is to thank Awal for joining us tonight and providing a very informal discussion. Thanks to all of you for joining us in such a sunny evening, and I'll bid you all good night. Thank you very much.